Hey folks, this is Professor Bob Long. I'm going to be doing some of the muscles of the head and neck, so this will be a quick video. As you can see here on our small mannequin, we can see the muscles in the head area. If I flip them around, I'll also see some of the muscles on the side and the back of the head. I'm going to have to alternate between him and our larger mannequin. There's one or two muscles that you can better see on the large mannequin. So if we look at him sort of from the front here, there is a muscle that covers the forehead or the frontal bone, which would be called the Frontalis muscle. It is also known as the part of the occipitofrontalis that goes from the occipital bone to the frontal bone, and it can be described this way or with two bellies, a frontal belly and an occipital belly. I prefer to call this the Frontalis muscle. It is connected by this large piece of connective tissue called the epicranial aponeurosis all the way to the occipitalis muscle. Again, these can be combined into one muscle called the occipitofrontalis with the frontal belly and an occipital belly, or you can say frontalis and occipitalis muscles. If I look at the front here, sorry, I'm trying to hold the camera while I do this. You see a muscle that makes a ring around the eye called the Orbicularis oculi, and one that starts to make a ring around the mouth called the Orbicularis oris. Part of the Orbicularis oris is obscured by some other muscles which lie over it. There's a muscle that connects from the zygomatic bone to the Orbicularis oris, which is called the zygomaticus major. Over here on the side, you can see one of the salivary glands, that happens to be called the parotid gland, which sits right over a muscle called the masseter. And then underneath here, there's a muscle going along here, right along the body of the mandible, called the Buccinator muscle. So, quick review. Frontalis, epicranial aponeurosis, and on the back of the head is the occipitalis. Over here, I have the Orbicularis oculi, Orbicularis oris, the zygomaticus, and the Buccinator muscle. Back here would be the masseter. There is a muscle that goes from the clavicle and attaches to the mastoid process. Since it extends from the sternum and the clavicle, it's called the Sternocleidomastoid muscle. It's this large muscle here. There is another muscle that sits out here on the side called the temporalis, but we cannot see it on this mannequin because this mannequin only shows the superficial muscle, which would be called the parieto-temporalis or temporoparietalis, depending on which book you look at. That one is not on our list. So I'll show you the temporalis muscle when I get to the larger mannequin on a future video. If I go to the chest and the breastplate, this muscle here that covers most of the chest is called the pectoralis major. We have the rectus abdominis muscle. The rectus abdominis muscle is the actual muscle. The tendon right down the middle here is called the linea alba. On the sides here, one of the muscles that comes over and attaches to the linea alba by a sheath or a connective tissue that runs right over the rectus abdominis is called the external obliques or external abdominal oblique. If I remove the breastplate, we can see several muscles on the backside, or actually we only see really one good one here. There's a muscle that runs across here, which is the transverse abdominis muscle. And then if I look at the belly itself, I see this muscle right here, which is the diaphragm. It's separating the thoracic and the abdominal pelvic cavities. But this muscle running across here is all the diaphragm.